Globalization in terms of an upsurge of digital technologies, especially the use of social media for political expressions, actions, longevity and modeling is becoming the norm of the day in politics. As it is, politicians are now urged to be on par with the current trend of digital politics and possess social media-enabled political ethics or skills. Well, this morning, the question now is, how does this affect the Namibian political landscape? And how inclined are our own politicians in aligning themselves in this context? Well, these are some of the key points to be addressed at a public lecture by Dr. Sadrak Shihomeka, who now joins us in studio to tell us more. Good morning to you, Doctor. Thank you so much for being here this morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
This lecture is headed under the theme Liquid Politics versus Diluted Democracy. Please contextualize these terminologies for us here.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk about this upcoming public lecture that will be held at NIPAM headquarters in Olympia tomorrow. The outcome and the message that we have in this public lecture is emanating from the extensive research that I've been conducting for the past 5 to 6 years, when I have been, trying to research on online, political actions and political, movement and political behaviors of citizens, not only in Namibia, but in the global south. And what I have come across now is that, social media gave us that extended power whereby, politics is no longer restricted to an offline environment whereby it's only the male adults mostly, and those people that are a bit well off and coming from those political households that are actively taking part in these political processes. But now we have a situation whereby young people, especially those ones who never had an opportunity to actively take part in political processes, are now, actively engaging and discussing, political issues on various platforms, and they are engaging their political leaders or political representatives. However, we are now also talking about the issue of, the dilution of democracy, whereby, democracy, people are always talking about is a representative government by the people, for the people. And these people, this representative government is, elected by the majority of the population. However, what we have seen even in the previous regional and local authority elections, it happened that, we have a certain number of eligible voters in the country. These eligible voters are there on social media saying all sorts of things, but unfortunately, during the actual voting time, they will not turn up. And as a result now, that majority that determine, democracy, which is one of the, variables of measuring democracy. Now, that majority term, it will be now constituted by the few people who are still political, we can call them political elites, that will go and cast their vote. And as a result, now they will represent even those ones that are less well off, though they were actually, saying a lot of things, on social media. So democracy, modern democracy is no longer the same as, the traditional democracy, whereby, active participation is only determined by the actual voting behavior of voters. But we are looking at how we can panel beat our political atmosphere digitally.
Very much so.
Yes.
So what you're saying is that social media and the advance of technology has somewhat diluted democracy.
Yes, it diluted democracy in good way or bad way. There are two things.
Let's look at the pros and cons.
Yes, there are pros and cons. So we have a situation whereby now, people can freely express their, opinions. They can exercise their democratic rights as enshrined in their, country's constitutions. However, there are those ones that are, tend to abuse these rights on social media. And it's not only individuals or citizens that are, abusing these rights, but also politicians. Sometimes they also abuse this. They are not abusing these things because they do not know. Some, they know what they are doing. That's now intentional abuse. And some, they do not know what they are doing because of either political literacy level of that specific individual or digital literacy level of that specific individual.
Yeah. What do you make of the digital literacy level, especially amongst our politicians?
Yes, the ability of an individual to make use of a specific digital device for political consumerism, political consumption. Yes. They are using it now to persuade, to convince, to attract voters so that they can join their, cause, they join their political parties or join their political gatherings. Indeed. With a promise that once I'm voted into power, this is what I am going to give you. This is what I'm going to do for your society. And with social media now, we can hear all these things, nice things on social media because of this political consumption that I'm talking about. Yeah. But then put that person into power, then it will be something else. Exactly. So now digital literacy that I'm talking about is you should be able now to have those abilities, those skills to make use of these digital platforms to attract, to convince, to persuade. Yeah. And not only to convince and persuade and attract people, but to actually inform the society of what is currently happening. And you need to be honest on these specific platforms.
Social media and the advance of technology also provides, a perfect opportunity for holding leaders accountable. Yes. Do you feel that the electorate, the Namibian electorate, have been doing that? Do you feel that there's a growing move towards that?
I am very much happy, especially when it comes to this part of social media, that our leaders are now being held accountable for whatever actions they are taking. If their actions or behaviors are not acceptable, citizens now, they are so vocal, they open their eyes. It's just because of social media that it gave them eyes, it gave them that authority. Now to say, you as a political leader, we voted you into power, but this is not what you are delivering, and this is not what you promised us. Yeah. I'm really happy that Namibians, especially young people, the youth, are really making sure that our political leaders are really doing what they were supposed to be doing, and they are doing it ethically. Failure to do that, then, they will be, I usually use the term, be prosecuted digitally by people who have never studied law.
Very much so.
Yes.
Looking at this current trend, on social media specifically, how do you think this would impact the near future for Namibia's political landscape?
Yes, if we look at this, one thing that I have seen is that in the near future, radical politics will take, a center stage, whereby people do not want to see people just promising things for the sake of being voted into power, but they want to see actions. They want to see people, delivering what they promised to deliver. And what I have seen is that now in the near future, we are likely to have a high number of young people actively taking part in these voting processes. Though right now you can see that, they are there on social media, but the actual voting, just to go to cast their votes, there is only a few number that turns up. Exactly. But in future, if we continue educating and persuading them that, do not only be vocal on social media, but also try to go and cast your vote. What I'm forecasting is that, in the near future, 2, 3, 4 years down the line, I think we are likely to see a great number of young people taking part in, various political processes.
Very much so.
Yes.
It's often, the focus and the need for access to information. And we see that a lot as well with some of the politicians who have actively engaged on social media. Yes. Take, for instance, Finance Minister Ipumbushimi. He's actively on Twitter. Prior to the budget, he, of course, conducted a consultative approach towards the formulation of the budget, and also asked on social media, what do Namibians want to see in this budget? Do you feel like there's a great sense of transparency that's coming, apart from accountability, that's also coming with social media?
And that's what we call citizen engagement. As a leader, you should engage your citizens anywhere, anytime. Wherever you find yourself, you need to hear what your citizens are saying. How do they feel about your actions before you actually even, before you actually probably, dish out this information, to the public. Yeah. So to me, I think, our political leaders, especially the youthful ones, politicians like, Honorable Shimi, you can see that he is closer to the people at the grassroots level. And is having that strong support at the grassroots level because these people can engage can talk, can discuss things with him
Yeah.
anytime, anywhere, without fear.
Yes.
While others that are not on social media, or they are on social media and they are silencing
Really
up
active, yeah.
individuals, then, people are a little bit, they will be like, okay,
Withdrawn, yeah.
he's there, but, he's a politician, he's a minister, and they're afraid of engaging that person in various discussions.
Very
But,
much
it will be an open door policy. It becomes now an open door policy for these ministers, for these politicians that are on social media,
Very
because
much
they can be
indeed.
accessed anytime.
Coming back to the lecture, what are some of the ideal outcomes that you'd like to see come from this lecture?
One is that, participants and those that will attend, they will be able now to learn more features of, liquid politics and features of diluted democracy. And also at the same public lecture, I will also talk about, the enablers. And these enablers ranges from things like political literacy versus, digital literacy. There is a quadrant that I'll give. We will find a specific situation where we have highly political literate and highly digital literate individuals.
Yes.
And we also have a situation like at the bottom left of the quadrant where we have, lowly digital literate and lowly political literate. So I will also touch on the enablers of, liquid politics and also, diluted democracy. Not only that, but I'll also talk about how can political parties and their representatives make use of social media as a marketing tool for political consumerism purposes?
Very much indeed. Fantastic. How can the public engage? How can the public tune in to this lecture?
Yes, there are two platforms, offline and online. Offline, what they can do now, they can even visit, NIPAM Facebook page. There is a link there to the public lecture, and they can now, complete the form so that they can reserve their space. Then they will be able now to attend the public lecture face-to-face, and there is a limited number when it comes to face-to-face gathering.
Yes.
Then there will be also possibilities high that we are going to live stream, and the majority of the people now will be able now to follow us on the NIPAM's Facebook page.
Fantastic.
And that one will be shared by tomorrow, I think, before the public lecture itself. We will be able now to share the link.
Fantastic. Liquid politics versus diluted democracy. Any final remarks from you, Dr. Chiomeka?
The only final thing that I'll say is let us use social media for our own political benefit. Let's use it now to balance the political climate and atmosphere to ensure that, people will not be disadvantaged, they will not be left out, or we are not going to do things unethically simply because we are on social media. So let's try to exercise, political role modeling wherever we find ourselves, and let's give chances to citizens at the grassroots level, the previously disadvantaged. I usually call them previously political disadvantaged citizens. Let's give them that chance now to take part in our political processes.
Very much. Dr. Chiomeka, thank you so much for being here this morning, and all the best with this very important lecture tomorrow.
Thank you.
There you have it. That was Dr. Sadrak Chiomeka. He's a researcher of social media and citizen engagement, talking to us about a public lecture on liquid politics versus diluted democracy, taking place. That's tomorrow, Thursday, the 25th of March, happening at NIPAM. That's the Namibia Institute of Public Administration and Management, I believe. That's in Olympia. If you'd like to tune in, check out, that is the NIPAM Facebook pages. And of course, you too can form part of this very interesting public lecture. To stay with us.